Well, happy Tuesday, Women with Grit followers and listeners. Hey, we appreciate you taking the time out today to listen in and to watch as we interview another phenomenal woman with grit. And as you all know, it's going to be, well, I'm not going to tell you again, but I'm looking forward to introducing her. Now, I'm rolling solo today. My sidekick, co-partner in crime, Sherelle Lands has had something come up, and we know how that is. In these days, she's a busy businesswoman, and got a lot going on. So I'm gonna miss her today. Hey, do me a favor. Make sure you go ahead and share this stream to all your friends. It's gonna be an exciting time today. We're talking to a phenomenal woman that has accomplished so much in her career and is actually working to accomplish even more. So we want you to do everything you can to let your friends know, to listen in and to learn. I think one of the things that I get out of these broadcasts, it's not so much during the broadcast. I learn a lot from our guests, and they just share so much with us and share so much of themselves. It definitely helps you understand that you can make it regardless of what your situations are. Sometimes we just have to dig in and use our grit to move forward. So I definitely appreciate that from all of our guests. We've had some phenomenal guests, and we have some phenomenal guests coming up. Before we get started, I want to shout out Sherelle Lands and have you go to SherelleLands.com. That's Sherelle Lands, LANS.com, to check out any books and trainings that she has, or visionstrategymanagement.com. And she's going to be happy to share anything that she has with you that can help you enrich your life and enrich your career and your business opportunities. Second, check out The Table. It's thetableaction.com, thetableaction.com. Check us out. This organization has started, myself and my co-founder, Kate Wood, founded it a little over 18 months ago. And our entire goal and mission is to really create opportunities to create prosperity for people of color in Middle Tennessee specifically. Something that we expect to take across the country. But in the meantime, I tell you what, we've had some phenomenal things happening. We've had business deals going down, mentoring, sponsoring, so many different things that are happening in the table with the table. So check us out. It's thetableaction.com. We're up to 260 members, which is, blowing my mind, and 17 corporate sponsors that are really putting a lot of time into the table and meeting and getting to learn about one another. And what we find is, as we get to know each other, it's much more difficult to hate each other. So with that, check out, again, Vision Strategy Management, and check out thetableaction.com. So I'm going to bring in our guest and let you all get to know Miss Kisha.
Hi.
Hey, there she is, everyone. Kisha Davis. She's in the Tennessee House of Representatives, and she aspires to do even more. So welcome to Women with Grit, Kisha.
Thank you. Thank you. One correction. I am a candidate for the Tennessee House of Representatives. So
Ah,
I am running for office
so she
here.
hadn't won. She hadn't won already. My bad.
That's right. That's right. We'll be waiting for you. So that's right. So yeah, one good. I'll make that shameless plug. And I am
Okay.
shameless several different times. So
That's
absolutely.
that's you know what, that's perfectly fine. If your opponent is a woman, we'll be happy to have them on Women with Grit. Um, if they're not a woman, then they don't qualify. So
Well, we don't know. I'm running uncontested on the Democratic ballot,
okay,
and the primaries here are in August 4th. There
okay,
are multiple Republican candidates, so we don't
hmm,
know who the opponent is, but there is one female on the ballot.
okay, all right. Well, so before we get into all the other stuff, why now? Why? This is you're in Williamson County primarily? What counties fall under your the areas that you're running for, and then I'll go into my next question.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, I live in Franklin, Tennessee, and the district is District 63. District 63 mainly includes the east side of Franklin, East Brentwood, Nolensville, College Grove, Arrington. Map wise, you can go to Go Vote TN and can find your district and can see various portions of the map, but it is District 63. So if you're at the highway at the Williamson County exit, east of the exit for Williamson County is the district, and it's a pretty large district.
Okay, now is this district one of the ones that was reconfigured, or I mean, some people call it gerrymandering, but just to keep it non-political, that was reconfigured from a strategic perspective?
It was, and and I can respect the word gerrymandering, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily know if that specifically applies to Williamson County because of the demographics is so much different than in
Mm-hmm.
other counties such as Davis and Shelby. But there is some minor changes. Portions of District 63 went to 61 and I believe 92. So there was some minimal changes to District 63, but generally a great majority of it, stayed intact. And to your
Okay.
first part of the question regarding, was the seat vacated? Yes, and I invite your listeners to Google the predecessor who has vacated the seat in shame, right? And I'm
Mm.
just going to say his name just once, Glenn Cassida, because
Okay.
he should be very familiar to Tennesseans.
Mm-hmm.
So he's already vacated the seat, and
Okay.
so it's a wide open race that we will win.
Okay. Cool. Now, so you're running in a red district, um, and you're running on the blue side. What's your competitive advantage? What makes you feel like? Because I feel like you wouldn't run unless you felt like you could win. So what do you see your advantage as?
The competitive advantage here is one that's very simple. Residents are looking for a change. I've been a resident here for more than a decade. My
Mm-hmm.
neighbors and I, and most of them are Republicans, my neighbors and I are just fed up with outside voices and outside interests.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's a little known fact, and it should be a big, well known fact, that a lot of those special interest groups they just moved into town, right? They came
Right.
here for the sole purpose of disruption, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so the competitiveness is people want real valued leadership. People
Mm-hmm.
want to see real change with healthcare reform. People want to see real change with community regarding state infrastructure. We have a massive amount of growth. People want, they want to reduce around the schools and the curriculum. So
Mm-hmm.
the competitiveness is real. I don't think there's going to be a challenge. It's Democrats and Republicans alike are ready for valued leadership.
Okay. So you feel like there's a group of Republicans that will come to the other side, regardless, and instead of voting their quote unquote politics or their clan, they'll come over and support you because you represent what they really represent and what they're looking for.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and in fact, I know so. How we've been gauging the interests of my neighbors. I mean, I sit right in the heart of Franklin. And, they have told me themselves, they
Mm-hmm.
have gotten on board themselves. They are ready to split the ticket if they have to vote for real change. They understand local elections move real change. And so, I mean, this is straight out of them. And at the end of the day, they have been, my most valued supporters,
Mm-hmm.
campaign donations and otherwise. I
Okay.
don't think they're looking at this so much as a party at least locally in District 63, and then also across Williamson County. They're not looking at it so much as you're a Democrat and I can't vote for you. We are ready to hear the issues, right? We are ready to move forward on the issues. So the true constituent can understand the difference between rhetoric and party nonsense, and then that's both sides, right? They can understand that difference, and they are ready to move forward. So they have assessed the quality of the message that they've heard from my predecessor. They've
Okay.
assessed the quality of the message that they've heard from the outside interest group, and it does not match what we as residents, what I as a resident, what we want to see in our leadership.
Okay. All right. Well, wonderful. Well, good luck with your run, and I do believe you that there are some folks that recognize, and this is on both sides, recognize that there are some opportunities to do better, and it may not be the party that they normally affiliate with. So
Absolutely.
that's the challenge. I think that I would love to see both sides of the aisle take on, is to vote for the best person. So all
Absolutely.
right.
I hear
So
that, little guy.
yeah.
That little
So
guy.
I'm sure he wants to make an appearance.
Well, there. Look at there.
I'm
Hi.
you say hi? No, not gonna say hi. No, you're busy. Say I'm busy with my snack and my bear. Bear video. All right. So we kind of got off to this your campaign, but let's talk about you and who you are. So why don't we take a few minutes, and or not a few minutes, but a minute or two for you to introduce yourself, and then we'll go into the rest of the interview.
Yeah, so I'm excited about introducing myself. So, you know, I'm a Detroit girl, so I'm going to illustrate this way. I've been looking at you over there, but I'm a Detroit girl, right? I was born and raised in Michigan, right in the heart of Detroit. When you talk about grit, right? What it takes to leave the city with accolades in high school. My family, who's listening today in Detroit, they're rooting. I left Detroit to go to college. I'm a proud HBCU graduate, went to Alabama State University, went back home and got a master's degree at Wayne State University, right in the heart of Detroit. Met my husband at work, who now 20 years later or so, happily married and living in Franklin with our two sons who attend Page Middle, Page High School. Throughout this journey, it's been interesting, right? I've always had great support. I've always been that in my family, the one with the grittiness, the one that, loves to debate on real issues, the one that loves to bring awareness. For 20 years, just under 20 years, I've worked in healthcare. I've managed billion-dollar brands. Some, many people take. That's on. I don't want to give them a free commercial, but you see the names: Johnson and Johnson, Pfizer, Gilead, Novartis,
Right.
all my previous employers. And so those pharmaceutical brands, I've communicated disparities in healthcare across 12 different diseases. And
Hmm.
so I know healthcare deeply. It's in my heart. One of my platform issues is to help reform Tennessee's healthcare and give people the healthcare that they need and deserve. And so that's my leadership experience there. I've managed teams of the hundreds across the South here and many other states throughout the South. So I used to be a traveling a corporate lady managing people, again, through maybe 12, 13 states. And, so it's been a corporate journey, a corporate, sure enough, an interesting corporate climb. And so almost every time I'm the only Black female leading a team with the position and the level and titles that I've had. And I've worn that crown proudly. I certainly lifted as I've climbed by pulling up young women, young men to get those jobs, right? So advocated. I used to be and still am actively a part of a sales organization called National Sales Network. And shout out to Yusuf Rahman, who was instrumental into getting me into that organization and really helping to facilitate getting people, real corporate jobs. So that's a little bit about me. But I would love to kind of talk about that corporate world and that corporate space.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we have a couple things in common. I'm from Detroit. Grew up,
Hey.
yeah, I grew up Northwest Side, 7 Mile, Wyoming, on West Allen
No,
Drive.
you didn't. I must
Yeah.
know your family. I grew up in 7 Mile in Westbrook, and I'm getting many texts. So I'm sure my family's texting. I might know you. So yeah, I went to Henry Ford High School.
Okay. All right. So my neighborhood school would have been Mumford,
Yeah.
but I graduated from Cass,
Yes.
and then we had the HBCU background together. I graduated from North Carolina Central
Okay.
in Durham.
Yes.
Now the difference is I never moved back. When I left, I was deuces. But my
You
first, no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, that it's interesting that you say that. I mean, I moved back because my school was in Montgomery, Alabama, and I knew that wasn't the southern stop for me. But when I did move back, as soon as my husband and I were married, I said, we cannot deal with any more snow. I don't know how, I don't know when, but we're moving south.
Hmm.
So, and at that time, we thought it was going to be North Carolina, but
Okay.
corporate America had its way, and we landed in
Yeah.
Nashville, the greater Nashville area. So
Hmm.
it took us 10 years because we were in Ann Arbor, Michigan for
Okay.
10 years, and then we moved here.
Okay. Well, cool. Yeah. My first job out of college was in Nashville. I thought I was going to take one in Charlotte, but one of the things I prayed for, and I prayed to God, I said, "Hey, Lord, I'm taking the job that pays the most. I've been broke a long time. I don't care if it's a penny. I'm taking."
We certainly have that in common.
Oh, and what I didn't know was that Tennessee had no state income tax, so I even got more money when it came to that. But yes,
We
so you
have
do.
that in common quite a bit. I mean, it's like I'm like I cannot be broke anymore. I mean, I felt that at Alabama State. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you talking about grit. There I didn't have people where we come from. There's no plan B, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
you plan A is your plan, and you
that's
work
the
that
plan.
plan.
Yes, we accomplished the plan. And no fallback.
Absolutely.
You fall back, you're falling out.
Absolutely.
Ah, so you're right. You got some shout outs here. Is it Courtney Rogers? Said can't wait to vote for you. Is it Bat L? Proud of you, mom. The boys' mom will be casting their vote. Edwina Chapel, proud of you, Sora and church member. And let's see, Lovely Taylor or Taya. I've got these lights in my face. So, hello everyone. Rolanda Hicks, great job, Keisha. Can't wait to support you and vote for you. So, you got people tuning in, which is always good. So my co-host Sherelle Lands would kill me if I don't ask this question.
Mm.
Uh, what is your unique story of grit? Now I know you made it. I know you grew up in Detroit. I mean, I know what that takes. And Henry Ford, it's a good school. It got you where you are, but all of our schools leave you well rounded. I'll put it that way. It's not just a classroom education. But
Mhm.
but what's your story that's gotten you to where you are and continues to move you forward?
I would have to say confidence and really truly leaning on a village of supporters. Interestingly enough, in Detroit, unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of Black females that was as successful as I now am. I mean, we had moms at home, and pretty much they were stay-at-home mothers, single moms, and not that they weren't gritty, not that they weren't loving, but I didn't know that there was this level of success to be attained, right? Our dad was there, a hardworking man, and we had men, throughout the family. And being in Detroit, this was, a union family. They're, automotive, you know, hourly wage family. So we were hardworking families, and yet still, I did not know that I could reach beyond, our hourly manufacturing roles, because that's what I saw. And for the most part, that was very successful. So
Right.
my unique drive is really having that confidence to explore and lean on other women, and in particularly women of color, to help me understand that I can burst through a bubble, and in my small world, that bubble is a glass ceiling, right? I can crack that in my small world. And they taught me the confidence that I needed to do that. So, even at Alabama State, right, my professors and teachers, friends from throughout the US who attended Alabama State, learning and leaning in on them, right? It's a family that encourages you to be confident when you face the world. And so, that's my grit. You if you don't know a dream is out there and you've never dreamed it and you don't know it exists, it takes a lot to understand that there is a ceiling, that you can crack through and break through. And I think too, having now a team of supporters, and not just, my friends, but my family. My parents have long since passed. My in-laws who may be tuned in today, have stepped in and fully embraced me. My mother-in-law, hello, Miss Rena Davis, fully, honestly helped mentor me into becoming a great wife, right? And becoming a great mom, and showing me family values. Mr. and Mrs. Davis has been married more than 50 years. And so they also gave me something to look up to. And then I just can't forget, almost 20 years of marriage, my spouse, just along the way, just being able to see him as a dad, as a husband, as a corporate man himself, and see him, also step back when he needed to for me to move forward. While he also managed his own career. There's a point in the time where he also managed a household and a career, right? And to see me with that projection. So we are a regular everyday family, but I didn't do it by myself. And I really have to say, because, I think, one story goes on for a long time. And even getting into the sisterhood of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, having an army of red educated women, and I say red, I mean the color, but having an army of Black educated women stand behind you and support you and acknowledge you and encourage you and give you that confidence. Every single day when I wake up, if I need an affirmation, I don't have to look far. So I got here because I realized, unlike my childhood, where I thought I had to look in the distance, I thought I had to look very far. I didn't know dreams existed. Now, literally, I wake up every day and somebody in that circle is giving me an affirmation. And that's how I got here, that confidence. And every time they do it, it's just like any other portion of something that happens to you good and you like it. And it's like a reward. So every time they do it, it's a reward, and I just get more and more
Hmm.
confident. So thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's phenomenal. It sounds like, I mean, you got your network together, your family, friends, your sister, Taylor. Is that Taya or Taylor?
My sister, Toya.
Hmm. Toya. Okay, that's an O. Okay, my wife's been telling me I need readers, but it's really the lights.
Yeah, my
So,
sister. It's I want to give her a shout out too. Thanks, Toy, for listening and tuning in. She's one of the ones while we're running too. She's a hardworking manufacturing employee. She's here in Murfreesboro with me. She moved
oh, cool.
down
Okay.
to support me, during my travels. And I mentioned I was a flying corporate leader. My
Hmm.
husband had a full-time corporate job locally himself. I
Hmm.
had two small kids in tow when I moved to Nashville. And
Wow.
it was my sister who said, I'm going to help you. Right. And
Right.
again, I don't have to look far. I mean, not only did she have her own three sons, right? And now she
Wow.
has two babies that she's helping to manage and rotate while I am flying off. And so Thank you, sis. I mean, again, encouragement and confidence comes from, all different directions. And I wouldn't be here without that love and support.
Yeah, I think that's powerful, and just so many people are not able to tap into a network like that, or are afraid to tap into a network like that. But now, so you kind of talk about you talk about your husband. Now you're all over the place, super exec. Some men have problems with that. Sounds like your husband was supportive there. What kind of conversations did you all have to determine how that balance was going to work? It's because I think that would be something beneficial for a lot of families to really understand what that dynamic is.
Yeah, so I don't know if it was like a pre-planned out thing, because when doors open, they usually open pretty quickly and without a lot of warning. And but I have to say, I had for myself to get rid of guilt. And my husband has always been supportive, but again, where I come from, mom was in the house. I didn't know a different structure, right? My grandmother helped even rear us up, so I didn't know it. I don't know women who did what I did until I became an adult. So my husband, I had to first forgive myself for leaving small children. And it was a difficult conversation, right? With not for my husband, for me, because there were moments where I missed my children so much. And I'd be gone 2 or 3 days, and I will call home, and I have all these checklists. And finally my husband says, I got it. They're my kids too. Right. And so, it was this moment where, I had to realize, I'm their mother and that's their father. We are equal parents. And it was never a time where my husband judged me. When I came home, my children loved me. Of course, they miss me at times. So it's
Mhm.
never this time where I felt this missed opportunity. Of course, there was games and things and Boy Scouts that I missed, church service. My sons played instruments in church. I have a percussion, both of my percussionists, and they're both acolytes in church. And there were things that I missed, but
Mhm.
they welcomed me, each time. It almost felt like I was the intruder. I come home and try to move the pieces around. I'd be like, "We got this, right?" And
Right.
so, so yeah. So my husband, he's an accomplished engineer himself,
Mhm.
right? He's worked at the same employer for more than 30 years.
Oh
He
wow.
corporate exec in his role. And so I'm thankful that his role was local and mine was the traveling one.
Mhm.
But so yeah, it's support. He never shamed me for climbing up the corporate ladder.
Okay.
That's not to say there wasn't difficult times where right, I had to forgive myself for things
Mhm.
that I missed. But no, I mean, he encouraged me. He rooted for me. Even now, right, I stepped out of the corporate world just, for the running of the campaign. And even now, right, just when it was a quiet moment in our marriage, after nearly 20 years, I decided to run for office. And, but he's making signs. He's promoting it with his
Mhm.
fraternity. He's a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. Shout out to the Divine Nine. And so he's been in the forefront, introduced me to another phenomenal Delta. Shout out to Virgie Rollins. I hope she's listening. So I can't complain. And when I say my village is strong, it is strong, and I would have to say that village prays together, and we're going to stay together.
So yeah, so that's interesting. Just the dynamic. You didn't really have the conversation, but you all were pretty much in sync already, I guess, or grew into sync, whatever, however you look at it. It's one of those things. You do what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of it, and that's kind of the thing with corporate America, right?
Mhm.
My grit and confidence kept knocking on the door, and of course you're successful along the way, and you prove yourself, and you keep knocking on the door. But corporate America, especially with Black women, they don't necessarily announce that you're the next person.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's opportunity and timing. And they don't necessarily share with you when that timing will come. It's just that they walk in your office or they give you that call and they say, hey, would you like to apply for this? Or would you like to do this? Or you've already led this project, take it on full time. And so there was not a lot of planning my husband and I can do is in corporate. And again, detriment to corporate America. It's one of those things where they don't even give you time to kind of say, well, let me work this schedule out, right? I got at the time, I think we had a kindergartner when we moved here. So they don't give you the time to say, let me figure out healthcare or care, right? They don't give you that time. And you are under this undue pressure to say yes right away. And so a little bit of it was, pressure to say yes, competitiveness, drive, and just timing and opportunity.
Okay. Yeah. So, and you gotta be ready to go. I think that's what I hear you saying, and you all were on point and ready to go. Now, you work with some phenomenal companies, some big companies, and we often hear about the difficulties that are there for women and women of color to ascend towards the top. What are some key things that the companies you've worked for had in place that I won't say allowed you to, but didn't prevent you from moving forward?
Companies that didn't prevent me from moving forward.
Yeah, you hear about glass ceilings and those types of things, or there are different reasons that we can't find anyone, or kind of we can't find any women, so we just got all these dudes here that all look the same. So yeah, I look at that as y'all are preventing people from moving up. It's not that they're not ready.
I
So,
see.
but what do they have in place that allow for for women to move up in those companies, or particularly you?
So what they so I'm going to give you the fast answer here, which is nothing, right? Meaning, do they have a program that Black women climb this corporate ladder? And I'm going to shout out these companies again. No, Johnson and Johnson didn't say this is planned for you, or Pfizer. This is no, they did not have that what it takes, honestly. And this is not only true for Black women, it's true for people of color, women and men, and across the spectrum, is that they want to see you perform first. It's almost as if you really, you're performing, and then they want to see you, I call it, be on stage, meaning that as they want to know that you're not going to break corporate protocol. And I don't know, the short answer is they want to know you're not going to act a fool socially, right? In addition to being successful. And so, but there's nothing there. I think what you can create and what is built in the system is value. So when you show them that value and you keep knocking and pressing on that value, you become hard to ignore, right? And that's what I mentor women who are entering new into their professional careers, right? If you're the kind of introvert that sits back and wait for someone to deliver your performance review, it will probably end, as you suspect, kind of a mediocre review or average review. And you've heard the terminology in corporate America, kind of like in the middle, you get the standard thing. But if you are that leader, whether you're an individual contributor or a manager, if you're the one who don't wait for their performance review, you bring the value to your manager, to your upline. Hey, I've worked on this project. Can I get feedback? Oh, hello. Did you see the outcome of this one? What do you think I could have done differently? Hey, here are some accountability metrics that I've exceeded last quarter. Can we align that up with your expectations? When you have that conversation and you're constantly knocking on the door and reminding them that you are just as good, if not better, than members of your team, you just become hard to ignore. So that value structure is built in all of those companies and in most, right? So you just kind of got to have that confidence, somewhat of that grit, and grit obviously is both men and women, but you got to
Right.
have that confidence and that grit together
Hmm.
to remind them that you belong there too.
Okay.
And as you perform along the way, they just cannot ignore the success. And then, honestly, there were a couple of times where you had to call out because, while that's easy to say, and some folks say, I've done that, there may be some times, and I've had a moment or two with various employers where you have to call out you being more competitive versus another employee, and they may have gotten a role or they may have gotten a responsibility. That's when you have to have a difficult conversation, right? And it is, hey, I didn't get this time, but I need
Right.
to understand what's going on or what can I do to improve to get it the
Right.
next time, and
Hmm.
hold them to that accountability.
Got it. Got it. Well, great, Keisha. I tell you what, this is very enlightening, learning a lot. And definitely enjoying the conversation. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to grab some water,
Thank
and then we'll be right back with you. Shout out to our guest today, Keisha Davis,
Thank you. Thank you. Be back.
and we'll be right back with her. All right. I tell you what, I am learning a lot from Keisha Davis. First of all, she's not already in the House of Representatives, uh, but she will be, and she can be. Um, she's got what it takes to get there. I truly believe that. Uh, Definitely want you all to take a look at my partner's website, visionstrategymanagement.com. So that's Sharelle Her name is CHARELLELANS.com. Check out her books, um, her different products, and that she has that are designed to help you really live your life the way you want to, and to exceed in business and succeed in your corporate life the way you want to. So check out Vision Strategy Management. I think one of the things I really like about Sharelle and what she does is she really helps people execute. We all have these big dreams, but a lot of times those dreams go unrecognized because we don't execute them. So check her out. Also, go to thetableaction.com, thetableaction.com. My co-founder and I, Kate Wood, would love to have you learn more about what the table is doing. We have an information session coming up next month, and then we have our actual uh, monthly or semi or the bi-monthly meeting coming up in June. So, but check out our website, thetableaction.com. We're really here to help people of color increase their level of prosperity, and we're doing that by connecting them with people that are sponsoring, mentoring, just plan on giving them opportunities because they know they have the capability of doing what they need to do. So check them out, and we definitely would love to have you at one of our meetings and to learn more about the tableaction.com. So, what do y'all think? How's our country going? Obviously, don't want to go without um, sending out thoughts and prayers to the families in Buffalo and in California and across this country that have to suffer at the hands of those that hate them for no reason. These aren't people that know them. They aren't people they crossed. These are just people that just hate because of the color of their skin, because of their ethnicity, their religion, things that are unfounded and definitely through ignorance. What are we going to do about it? How do we get people to realize that the stuff that they're hearing, that they're learning, whether it's on TV or some figure is spewing it? How do we get people to really listen and learn to find out the facts before they act? What are your thoughts? Feel free to drop something in our chat, or you can shoot me a message on Facebook and or Instagram or my LinkedIn. So that's a question. What are we going to do? But definitely, want to keep those families in our thoughts and prayers. This is just it's every time something like this happens, the first thing we just it pulls us back. It pulls our country back. We have our own war going on in the United States. Outside of the war that's going on in Ukraine, we have a war going on in the United States, and a lot of things that are feeding that it's just plain old misinformation. So let's keep them in our thoughts and prayers. And then we're going to go ahead and get back with Kisha Davis. And if you have questions for Kisha, feel free to drop them in the chat. We're going to get her to answer questions. And if you have any comments, feel free to do the same thing. We look forward to hearing from you. And here we go back with Kisha Davis. Hey, hey.
Hi.
All right. Hopefully that helped. I think my son grabbed my water, so.
If you need a break, I can take over while you go get your water.
You can hold it down.
I hold it down for you.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. So, I was just on our break talking about, just send out thoughts and prayers to the families in Buffalo and in California and then just across this country that are suffering at the hands of people just because of what they look like, who they worship, and what have you. And a lot of it's based on, kind of this fake, real fake news and just misinformation. And it's, and we see it in our politicians. How do we deal with this? One of the reason I asked you the question earlier about people coming from one party to support you in another party is because that seems to be, one of the big problems we have as a country right now. It's just straight up gridlock based on what your party is. So there's no room for true independence. You got to pick a side. And we're going to ram this down, and it happens on both sides. So we're not going to go into that. But how do we get past that, Kisha? How do you see yourself getting past that, not just in office but in life?
Mm-hmm. I think we both parties overestimate the goal that we need to achieve, right? And sometimes that goal becomes so big that you don't have time to accomplish it because both parties have their own vested interests that needs to be done before you actually get to the goal. So, I'm going to take healthcare, for example, right? The state of Tennessee has not expanded the Healthcare Affordability Act, and there's left millions of people in our state with healthcare that is just not good quality, right? They are either underinsured or don't have any at all. The goal here for Democrats is a bit different from the goal from Republicans. And you're right. What happens is nobody wants to move until all of their vested interests are unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
Your question was, what is my plan or what are my thoughts around that? Right. We should prioritize. And again, I spent years in healthcare. We should prioritize portions of this, such as mental health. Years ago, there were resources, before they started shutting down mental health clinics, et cetera, where one can go. And if you're from Detroit, one of those resources were Herman Kiefer and, Henry Ford Mental Institution when it was up. And those have been closed down.
Right.
And now you see 30, 40 years later, you see this rise in mental health illnesses, and we don't know what to do about it. Right. Mm-hmm. And Detroit is not the only community. They've closed down across the country. Right. So my plan is really to bring back more local mental health resources. And I'm not just talking where you can go get to be treated, which is a primary thing, but also it's the same place you can go for your medicine. It also is the same place you can go for therapy. It may be also the same place you can go to for housing, etc. We just can't keep jailing people with mental illness and expect, they have the mental capacity when they leave jail and expect them to kind of fit into society. They need help, right? We need to reopen some of these local mental health hospitals. Interesting, the state of Tennessee has one of the worst opioid epidemics across the nation. With that comes mental illness, right? And so in these rural towns, in these big cities, you have nowhere to turn when people need help recovering, or when people just need a therapist to talk to. There's nowhere to go. And in fact, a lot of the private insurance either don't pay or therapists don't accept. So again, you're in this gridlock. I'm proposing to break down these big goals that I were mentioning and bring back and prioritize a bit at a time. And this should be a nonpartisan issue. I know there's some things that has been passed, etc. But we should come together. The legislature should come together on these nonpartisan issues on the things that they can agree on, right? And it's not to say that the expansion of healthcare is not important, because that is certainly my goal, right? But these positions are every 2 years, right? You don't have a lot of time before you're running again, but you want to get some work done. So yes, I want to advance the Healthcare Affordability Act, but at the same time, what can we do today to help millions of people across the state of Tennessee seek the care that they need?
Okay, I like that. I like that answer. It's really a matter of finding what the common ground is. What do we recognize as our joint interest, and understand that it's not necessarily a zero sum game. It's all tides rise when people are doing better, and when people are doing
Absolutely.
better mentally, we can do better. It's interesting. I had this conversation yesterday, not about mental health with someone from a very large healthcare organization, and she talked about you know the fact that some of the same things you mentioned. I mean, it's got to be funded. It's got to become a priority. One of the questions I asked her boss, this was at our Rotary Club meeting yesterday. Asked her boss. I said, "Hey, um, in the city, people have the emergency room as their doctor a lot of times. I get sick, I go to the ER. I mean, hey, they'll take me if I don't have insurance or not. But in the rural areas of Tennessee, especially, we've had at least 13 or 14 hospitals actually closed down because people aren't paying them. So it means they're not bringing any revenue. Hard to pay and keep up your facility if you don't have revenue. So my question was to him was, how do you really deal with these the rural healthcare? If I'm having a heart attack and I got to wait for a helicopter to come out from Midtown Nashville and fly out 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours to pick me up and then bring me back, my chances of survival are less. And he talked about, because nobody wants to politicize this. Nobody wants to jump out and say, hey, we just need to expand Medicaid, but he did talk about how at some point the government has to step in and help pay for this stuff. There's absolutely no way that the private sector can handle this all on its own, no matter how much money they have. So what are your thoughts?
So I agree. And listen up, Tennessee and other states that have not expanded Medicaid. And even if you had expanded Medicaid, when community hospitals close, those patients don't go away. All they do is keep traveling toward your award-winning hospital. So I say that to say, eventually everybody will pay, right? You're absolutely right. How do you fix it? We're not doctors, and even if we were, all the doctor care in the world can't save all those patients without the proper insurance. We already have government insurance. It's called Medicaid. But our legislation is blocking that expansion, right? So if you want a healthier Tennessee, it starts with these local elections. And it's interestingly, I meet people all the time. Like, I wish I can vote for you in Williamson County. I'll give you a few dollars in the campaign. You can do something by contributing to the campaign, absolutely, but also by putting your local state leader in office who have the values, who want to expand Medicaid. Don't think for a second that these local elections, August and in November, don't matter, because they do. Collectively, the House and the Senate works with this governor. And in the state of Tennessee, this is a super majority Republican state. It's difficult when we're not electing leaders locally to get down there and represent the thousands of patients whose hospital has closed down and they have no recourse. Literally, Lee, you're right. They're dying trying to find health care outside of their cities. They can change that locally by putting in leaders from the House and the Senate and the governor, if need be. The governor, if need be, right? And by the way, I'm going to give another little shameless plug to my 2 Democratic primary candidates. You will have a choice there this year in the state of Tennessee for your governor. So if you want this kind of change, you got to demand it. And you demand it first by voting in the leaders that understand that everybody deserves good, great, and just as equal health care as the politicians who enjoy it.
No, people don't need the same health care as the politicians.
Why can't they? Why can't they? Why can't they?
Because they don't want it. People don't want that.
Tax dollars are paying that. Why can't they?
People don't want I don't think people want the same health care the politicians have. Otherwise, they wouldn't put those politicians in office.
Well, I tell you what, politicians have great health care.
Oh, I know.
They're not chasing down a community hospital that is closed, right? Yeah. They're going over there to Walter Reed or wherever they're doing, and the doors are wide open, right? You know, they cut the line. So we need great health care, right?
Yeah. They have the best. Politicians have the best health care in the world. So.
They do, and they have the resources to understand where to go get it. And there's no reason why folks in Tennessee, across the country, cannot get the same level of care. And in fact, Lee, what's interesting, and I think the laws have changed now regarding bankruptcy. Certain governors, including our own, would rather see you file bankruptcy going back and forth to the emergency room, because that impacts your credit and impacts certain employers, right? I mean, it's a slippery slope to hell, and I think people deserve more, right? And so you got to pay attention. So I always get into this. I would sometimes get into this debate with constituents that live in Nashville, for example, and I let them know I'm running for office here in Williamson County, and I can't vote for you, but you can. You can't cast a vote for me. You can support me. You can tell another. You can reach out to your friend in Williamson County. You can give to the campaign. You can do something. You have a powerful voice, and there are candidates right there in Davidson County waiting on your vote. So I keep stressing that, because people just think the Williamson County elections or the Davidson elections are so far past them that there's nothing in common, that they miss the moment of change. So we're not gonna let that happen, right? We're not gonna miss that moment of change, right? Yeah.
So you're not gonna believe this, but we're almost finished. Our time is almost up. Yes. So how can people reach you before we get off? How can people reach you if somebody just wants to call and get some advice from you, or reach out? What are your handles? And you can do a handle for your campaign as well.
Thank you so much. Again, Tennessee, I'm Kisha Davis. I'm a first-time and will be a first-time politician. I started this race to represent people just like me and you, right? I want you to join me for a very historical moment in Williamson County. There's never once before been a Black female to run for a seat of this magnitude in the county. And whether or not I'm Black or white, the moment is here today for change, right? I represent the same values you do. And again, you can go to www.electkishadavis.com. Kisha is spelled Kisha. electkishadavis.com. All of my social media handles are at Elect Kisha Davis. And I want to say thank you to Jason Lutz for doing those websites. He did a wonderful job. There you will find volunteer buttons. You will find the most important button is donate and vote. Learning your district, you can find that there as well. You can learn a lot about me. You can contact me directly through electkishadavis.com.
All right, thank you. So you all know how to get in touch with Kisha Davis. You got a shout out from some guy named Michael Davis.
That's my husband. Hey, honey.
Yeah, definitely got to shout him out.
Yeah. And then Lee, real quick, I had on my break, I had to stop him from putting things together. Right. He's working on some signs. And I'm like, are you listening to this podcast? He's like, I'm listening. I'm like, you pay attention, right? So yeah. Hi, honey. Thank you.
Definitely. So before we get wrapped up, thank you. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your insight. Good luck with you and your campaign. What last bits of wisdom would you like to share with our audience?
So regarding corporate America, your podcast lead and your partner, I know she couldn't be here today. It does take grit. And like elections, we have learned, and especially in the last 2 or 3 cycles, Black women moves and motivates change. So in corporate America, we have some dynamic and fantastic Black leaders that is changing the game. Melody Hobson, these people that I follow, that I kind of model and look after, that are changing the face of corporate boards, etc. They all have that grit. And then likewise in politics, my soror, Keisha Lance Bottoms and Stacey Abrams, you have Black women who are making that change. And so my last parting words are, yes, ladies, we can do this. I want us to be a part of the history here. We can hold down babies, jobs, and political careers. And so my last parting words, keep that confidence, keep that grit. Please register to vote. The state of Tennessee, you don't vote 3 or 4 elections in a row, they drop you. Register to vote and go vote. Thank you, Lee, for having me. I miss your partner. Have me back on soon. Thank you very much.
Well, definitely we'll have to get you back because, as a House of Representative member, we're going to, want to understand the grit it takes to operate at that level and from that position. And so we'll definitely look forward to having you. If you have anything that you need from us, let us know. Got a shout out. Edwina said, thank you, Keisha. You will represent well. I believe that as well. And just good luck out there. It's going to be a grind. And fortunately for you, you have a support network, your sorors, and, we got some bros out here too. So
there you go. There you go. Shout out to the D9. I mean, they are inspiration across the board. And so we expect you to kind of stump this platform for us too, Lee. So, I encourage, the influence of the Divine Nine, the influence of your listeners. We encourage you to join our campaign as volunteers. Not going to do it. Takes a village, right? It doesn't just start with raising that family. It takes all of us, right? We don't believe in one another. Where are we going to get it from? So please, thank you. Support our campaign.
Yep, we will. And for all you listeners, our local elections are the ones where we have the least amount of people come out to vote. But those are the ones that are most important to you. The local policies, whether it's your municipality or your state or your county or whatever, we definitely have to vote in our local elections. It's easy. It's always easy to walk up at the Brentwood Library for me to go vote because there's so few people in there, and that's of either party. And so we definitely need to take into consideration our local elections. Thank you all for tuning in to this edition of Women with Grit with Kisha Davis. This was phenomenal, Kisha. I really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Shout out to my partner in crime, Sherelle Lands. We look forward to having you back next week. and hopefully Sherelle won't fire me. Hopefully I did a good enough job. But, the boss will be checking in soon. So
women with grit.
women with grit. That's right. All right, everyone. Everyone have a fantastic rest of your
Thank
week.
you. Thank you.
Enjoy this weather. Not too long ago, we were complaining about it being too cold. So let's not complain about the heat.
Mhm.
Everyone take care and have a wonderful week. Take care.
Thank you. Good night.
You're welcome. Thank you. Good night.